Hmm. Blessings and welcome, dear community. There's our light. I'm so grateful to be with you. And in just a minute, we will be joining here at Instagram. Yes, we will. I'm so looking forward to sharing this very, very powerful show today with you, all about self sabotage. Okay, so I'm just going to say a little prayer before we get going into the Instagram land. And I usually go live just a minute or two ahead on YouTube because it sends out an email to the subscribers. You guys get a little notification that we are going live, so we get to have that awareness and join as we are guided. I'm so grateful. Okay. Blessings and welcome, dear community. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is my weekly live stream 4D Trinity. We're going to open this morning with something a little different. It's been a while since we've did an invocation, and this morning we are guided to invoke our light body, to invoke the higher self, the one higher self that is the voice for God, that voice of love within us always, through every dimension. Throughout all the ideas of time and space resides you in your perfection. So let's access and call it in. And so it is. And so it is. That was a part of this morning's meditation. And this is a big part of our self-sabotage show because we have so many tools. We have amassed so many tools and so many teachings along our path. Yet when we're in the doldrums of self-sabotage, when we're in the doldrums of self-hate, of self-loathing, of self-denial, it's as if we're blinded to all of those tools that we have amassed throughout our lifetime. And just this morning, I mean, it's been months since I've really, on one hand, been called, but since I've really even just decided to pick up the drum and make, whether it's a mini ceremony or use it in some way larger. For many years of my life, it's been, I mean, it traveled with me all over Europe, and I've slept with it for years. So it's an intricate part of the teachings, right? It's an intricate part of the way that I process and that I remedy and I bring a medicine into my life. And that's the invocation for you, because if you're here at all, at any point in time, and you stumble across this show and you're guided to watch, you are in a realization of your multidimensionality and that there are aspects of you waiting for you to be aligned in your truth so that those parts of you can light up. And this is all about remembering. So I'm going to start this show, and thank you for being here. Blessings, everyone, for hopping on. I'm going to start this show with a little story because I have not been in my top. I've not been in my top, which is strange for me because, when you go through levels of healing in the beginning, it's hell. It's like it's all hell realms. You're getting to know who you are in the light by first disbanding, integrating the shadow and the dark. And it's the initiation. It's how we do things here in the Matrix. So there's very little way around it unless you just come in with superb karma and don't have to deal with the doldrums of so much of that stuff. But for most of us, we are feeling a collective shedding of the skin right now, and it is not comfortable. Especially where there's old wounds, especially where there's old addictions, especially where there's old patterns of fear, of blame, of shame, of hate. And that's what I've been dealing with. How many lifetimes does it go back? I don't know. But what I know is that there is a nugget of hate inside of me that has been seeking to be released. The root system of this hate has been seeking to be dissolved. And for the most of my life, working through why I have created and harbored this hate in my body, in my mind, in my memory, in my past towards people, places, things, individuals, right? We get into the mind and we're figuring it out. And that is much of how the grid mind science stuff works, as we break it down metaphysically through the invisible realms of understanding that our thoughts are actually anchors that connect us to people, places, and things through time and space. And even though time and space is an illusion, while we're here in the Matrix, it is very real with a small r, right? And so we find ourselves at these initiation points where universe, higher self, everyone is like, come on, kid, it's time to grow. And they're like waiting. Higher self and all your people are like, girl, but they're patient, right? Masters are patient because they know time doesn't exist. And they understand that there's a realm here that if we are not allowed to move through the dark night of the soul, how many ever you have in this life, but if that we're not allowed to go through it on our own and to get it, to receive and to retrieve and to get the awarenesses that come from being courageous enough to walk into the valley of death, which is hell, when we're brave enough to walk into those dark, dark, dark places within, right? That's the exact moment that the light comes on. And so for anyone, everywhere, if you are guided to be here today, I know it is I got to stop myself from bawling right now. I'm like, stop it. Because I've bawled so many tears. And I feel like this last 2 weeks, I mean, believe me, we all know it's been a long time, right? We've all been doing massive shifts in our healing and in our shift of consciousness and our opening of our hearts, which is really what this is all about. Yet there's this sense of, as we do that, right? We go deeper and deeper. We go deeper and deeper and deeper into the spiral of the realization of where these patterns come from. Now, I love my teacher, right? For years, the 3-year apprenticeship that I did, which is embodied in my book, The Reiki Apprentice. She's a trance channel and a grand Reiki master. And when she would channel, she would say things like, you could do that, or you could just decide that it is different and it will be. And everyone's like, what? Can't just decide. And she would be like, yes, you can. And and then so for all of us students, we'd have to get over all those reasons why we decided and invested into belief systems, into why it could not be a spontaneous reality with a capital R that would be one that we would invite and have and embody and hold. We had to get over all those resistances and reasons why that couldn't be a possibility for ourselves, which we would use our energy tools to do so, which is a mindfulness practice throughout your day, but so that you begin to stop collapsing wave functions in the way that are in agreement with old patterns and systems that would keep you locked in the safety and comfort of sabotage, of self-denial. So the little story, right? And we know, if you follow me or you're on my YouTube, right, I talk about addiction, right? And when I did the ayahuasca, that was the only reason. The first time I went to the ayahuasca was because I realized I had an addiction problem with marijuana, and the medicine told me at the end of it, the medicine was like, oh, your job is not to stop being with the little herb. Your medicine is to continue working with it mindfully, with great respect, as a sacred medicine that will help to connect you with those cosmic or galactic frequencies as guided in the written work that you do. And so that since 2012 is when I took that first medicine sit. And since then, right, and I've smoked pot my whole life. So it's been an addiction. And if we look at past lives, my mother had addiction problems, my grandmother had addiction problems, my biological father, total heroin addict. It's like addiction, addiction, addiction. So that's something that I had agreed to on some level, to come in with those lenses and to work out my issues, to come back into my power, to remember my power. And so what are your things? Just real quick, just don't lie to yourself. Just real quick, you already know the answers. And that's a part of this thing today here for self-sabotage. You already know the answers that are in your higher good. So what are the things that are your distractions now? Because this is a part of our self-sabotage. This is the part where we get our knickers in a twist and we keep tripping ourselves up, and we keep having the opportunity to make a choice. So here it is. So the last 2 weeks, I've been overwhelmed. I thank you for all of your love with my grandma. It's like, it's not over. It's a journey, and it's massive to do everything that needs to be done when you're helping to support an elder shift gears in their life and possibly move towards dying, right? So anyway, thank you for your support with that. So there's been it's just been exhausting. There's been a lot of stuff going on in family. And come on, we know globally, this is like this ongoing thing that's happening. But whatever my cycles have been, right? I've been coming into this next rung of well, we know it started with grandma and the no sleep, the bat medicine came in, right? And supernatural powers. I was not sleeping. Oh, this is when it started. So I couldn't sleep, right? We didn't sleep taking care of grandma and going cuckoo and going into altered states and delirium, but meanwhile having amazing like downloads. But at the same time, when you get 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 hours or something, you finally get home and you haven't slept in 3 days and you're like, I fucking need to sleep. I'm like, I'm gonna smoke some indica. I'm gonna take whatever, my melatonin and my indica and my valerian, so I can get down and just really let my body reset. And yes, that was a snore sound. I wish I snore. I pray that I go that deep in. And for me, it's been this issue with getting sleep anyway. So then we have the grandma thing on top of it. So, but this is where it started, you see, because I wasn't sleeping for like those 30 days. There was like, what was sleep? But I was smoking. And I would be in these altered states. And right, if you follow me as a knife thrower at Jedi Knife Girl, I was having these like ridiculously amazing things happen in my knife throwing. And I'm like, this is not me. This is like something beyond, right? That we open ourselves to. But that's where the smoking, that getting back into a rhythm and a pattern that I know is not sustainable for my body, for my mind, for my creativity, for the work I'm here to do with marijuana. Again, so bringing it back circle, right? So I know the dance with this sacred medicine. Yet I was like, yo, I need to use you more right now because of the circumstances. And the medicine was like, we got you, we got you, we got you. But then when things started finding balance and working out, and we were seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and Rubik's cubing our way with grandma, me and my mom and such, the family, well, I kept with the pattern. And I kept with the pattern. And so my point is that was mid-February. Okay. And I know my agreement with the little smoke is there's a certain, so with all of us, there's this acid alkalinity, right? There's this balance point. And like, it's like for you, maybe, with your addiction or even just with your health in general, you're like, maybe you drink a little alcohol and you're like, I know if I have like 2 or 3 beers a week, I'm okay. I have my energy. It doesn't like drain me. I'm not hungover. I can have a little cocktail with my girls or my boys or what, right? But if you start drinking like a 6-pack every night, or more, right? That's going to shift something. And so you veer away from that. You let yourself have your little whatever, and you keep your balance. You work out, you meditate, you whatnot. But when that tipping point shifts and you're like me, I'm smoking more now than the other stuff. And the other stuff is still there. The gym, the meditations, the prayers, the da-da-da. Yet what's happening is that the tipping point of like the smoke becomes greater than those other things. And for me personally, no judgment to anyone else, because we all have our individualized curriculum, right? But for me, I just know this of myself at this point of my practice, that there's a certain meter that when I honor that for my body system, all of my systems can work coherently and bum, 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 and I get shit done. What is your superpower? So this is like a whole other show, but on the back burner, what is your superpower? I know for me, that my superpower is to be creatively productive. When I cannot be creatively productive, or when I am not, when I'm going through dark night of the soul, when I'm going through shadow patterns and like remembering to love myself, I hate myself. Like I can't, I hate life. And I know it's a very strong word. And I use that word on purpose because, as I said at the beginning of this, hate for me personally is the thing that I'm working on now, undoing from the root system. All of my life, since I've been aware and working on this stuff, since I was 16, 17, 18, 19, right? Working on the spirals, recognizing this, the whole reason why I started going deep and healing my life in the first place. Remember the story? I was 18, was having chest pains, went to the doctor in Ireland, and the doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with you, kid. There's nothing wrong. EKG. But I was having the signs, the symptoms of a heart attack. I was 18 years old. I got home and I had already started meditating when I was 16. So this was a couple years later, and I realized I knew exactly who it was and I knew exactly what it was all about. And that's what I'm saying to you. You already know. Self-sabotage. Where are you lying to yourself? So let's break this down. So as we know, right, there's been interruptions for this show. Now, intuitively, my first hit, the first intuitive hit is it's the couch, and it's when you wear specific things that there's extra leg and extra arms or chest, right? So as a woman, right, there's more limbs and skin going on basically. And if it kind of blends with the couch, maybe the thing thinks a certain thing is going on. So we know this has happened several times, to the point where I made the new page, and then we did the live last week and I got cut off, right? Okay, so placing love and light, placing that all in a bubble of light. My intuitive hit was it's just how I'm dressing, and I need to wear more like block colors, because I went back, and the ones that didn't get taken down is when the shoulders are covered and there's like an obvious body in clothes, right? Because my thing is like, oh, Insta got taken over by Facebook. It's all bots monitoring this stuff. It's not real people. Anyway, so that was my intuitive hit, and I would test it, and then I'd be like, well, what if I wear something really low and show more skin, and then it'd be like, you're off the air. And then it's like, okay. But then I went back, and remember, like last month I did that higher self one, and I had all black, and it was like, it's let us stay on. But in the meantime, right, families writing in and going like, yo, this is the dark side, yo, they be trying to take us down. Self-sabotage, right? Or sabotage in general, we'll say. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. And there's so many notes. So I pray that this channels through in the most high and succinct ways. So thank you. So parts of the family and the community are like, that is the dark side, girl. That is like the evil forces that are saying like, we do not want that light consciousness in and amongst the collective. And they are trying to take you down and shut you down. And I know there's a story with that I'm in denial about with my grid work, but that is a story. And each story, there's a system with a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of history and a whole bunch of memories and a whole bunch of past connected to it. And my whole thing with 4D consciousness is like, honey, the past is the past is the past is the past is not real. We're dropping into the heart center where we're free of those timelines that have bound us in the past and keep us stressing about the future or whatnot, right? Because we know time is an illusion. So, and now here we go. The mind just drops. So help me stay on point, higher self. Okay, thank you. So dark forces. So then the community's like, oh, it's like the dark forces, and man, they're like shutting you down and this and that. And I'm like, okay, shit, and there's a memory and a recall. And that was very important that parts of the community brought that to the forefront for me to be aware of, or for me to remember that is a dynamic that is a part of the story in this matrix operating. So I'm like, okay, I remember that. And that brought me through some other pathways and systems to be aware of. And then on the other hand, another bunch of the collective are saying, oh, girl, someone wants revenge on you. Someone's like calling this in and taking you down. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I could like make up a story in my mind about like someone who wants to get revenge on me, but that's not really my world. That's not my grid, yo. So that doesn't resonate with me, So the system that I keep coming back to is this: if I wear blocked colors and just wear a belt and like something that makes it like there is a fully clothed body here, then the bots they don't even notice. And then we can get our show and just share our messages. So that's the experiment today. Okay. But in the meantime, so all these things are happening, right? And I'm thinking about this collective, this sabotage. And it's like, How are we doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? And I'm smoking and I'm smoking and I'm smoking. And the thing is about the addictions, right? Or those patterns, whatever they are, is that one leads to another. So I know when I smoke pot, it makes me want to smoke more tobacco. And there's a regulation with tobacco in my body as well, where my body's like, there's a certain amount that we know I can still run and I can jump and I can like have my full breath in my lungs. Hello. And feel like not even think, oh, I'm a smoker, like where that doesn't even go through my mind, right? Where I'm just like doing my life and go to the gym and being pranayama and doing all my breathing stuff. And it's fine. Yet when there's more smoky smoke of the little smoke, then the big smoke, the tobacco is like, hey, I'm next, because they go together. And what happens then is that, but I'm still wanting to go to the gym and I'm still wanting to do all these things. And so, but I'm feeling it more in my lungs. And then because I'm smoking and smoking, I'm feeling it more in my knee, which I'm going, oh no, this is like old lady stuff and bubble of light, because that's my words. But I'm like, okay, but I know. So this is what I'm saying is that you know how you're self-sabotaging yourself. What is it right now today? What is it right now today that you can release and come back into your full power and authority? So I got so wily and I started crying, and like all last week, I like every day I'd just be like miserable, trying to set up my office. We're still doing stuff. It seems like everything is taking forever. I reach out to one of my bros here at Instagram, Bosna, and I'm just like, dude, because I needed a lifeline. I'm like, I needed to talk to someone who knows everything that we all know, but that could help me remember. I was in such a deep state of denial of this patterning of sabotaging, because I knew it. And it's like you're smoking and it's like you fucking know. You know better. You know that your max was, 2 puffs ago or 2 cigarettes ago or 2 drinks ago or whatever your thing is, 2 donuts ago. I don't know. God phone. So what is it? Hello? Yes. Blessings. I know, God, says I. Yes. Red dress, red phone. Self-sabotage. I know, it's so deep, God. What are we going to read? Course in Miracles? I am down. Higher self. I know. Okay. Blessings. Thank you. Okay. All right. Awesome. So we do have a lot to cover, but we're going to just go. So freedom of will. Freedom of will. Oh, blessings, Champagne. And thank you, everyone, for hopping on over at Instagram. It is such a gift. It is such a gift. Thank you. Freedom of will from A Course in Miracles. Do you not understand that to oppose the Holy Spirit is to fight yourself? Now, what is the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit is the voice for God, is your higher self, is the truth. So when we don't honor the truth, that is self-sabotage. That is self-denial, because the self is one with God in its true essence. So when we don't listen to the voice for God, higher self, Holy Spirit, and honor that divine internal guidance system that is only going to bring us into bridging heaven on earth, into peace, into better health and healing, when we deny that, we are denying our true self. God tells you, a Holy Spirit tells you, but your will. God, Holy Spirit speaks for you. In Holy Spirit's divinity is but your own, right? We know as we match ourselves and our actions, our words, our deeds with Holy Spirit, with light, with God, with love, that is our truth. We come into remembering that as our truth and expanding in that truth. All Holy Spirit knows is but your knowledge, saved for you that you may do your will through him. All Holy Spirit knows is but your knowledge. So you see, you are so wise. You came in knowing what your mission would be, choosing your mission, knowing the villains ahead of time, right? If there are villains, knowing the divine ones or the oracles or the, whatever the meters are along your path. And so there's a sense of, and because time doesn't exist, we've already done the thing, whatever it is that you're afraid to do, that you're sabotaging yourself about. You've already done it on a different timeline, even though time doesn't exist, right? It's already done. Peace on earth is already here, right? It's the now. It's not in any timeline. You're not going to find it in the archives. Well, you might find blips of it, But where I'm talking about is, and what A Course in Miracles is speaking about, is that it's already done when we surrender to the voice for God, to higher self. And that as we do that, more of God joins with us. And heaven becomes that truth which abides. And it's so, so very simple. Okay, they want me to read the rest of it. God did not set up his kingdom alone, and heaven itself but represents your will. Your will, you exercise your spiritual will, which is you choosing love over fear repetitively over and over and over again, so that you can experience heaven on earth, so that you can say yes to yourself, to your truth, not sabotage yourself, not deny. And I'm talking about the self with the capital S, so that you can bridge heaven on earth. Every time you say yes to the truth in you, you are bridging heaven on earth, right? Your energy expands. Everything becomes lit with that divine essence. No spark of life but was created with your glad consent, and as you would have it be. So this brings me back to this whole thing about, like, and I also had to sit back when my lives kept getting cut, and I was like, okay, yo, Tutu, that's my nickname for myself. You're doing this for yourself, to yourself, for yourself. You are actually creating this. So what's this about, girl? And when I really meditated on this, I was like, honey, you know what this is about? This is about girlfriend needs a change. I need to start thinking, rewiring and rethinking the way that I share media. And that's really all this was about. That's all it was about for now. And I'm like, oh, I really needed to come into that aspect again to calibrate the creative, productive process in me, that when I'm not in that superpower mode, and that's my superpower. Remember, what's your superpower? It doesn't have to be like beaming fire out of your eyes. We all have those things anyway. I'm talking about like in the matrix, like you're the thing in the world, in the matrix that empowers you. Because when we move out of self-sabotage and start honoring higher self, voice for God, Holy Spirit, that mission, that vision, that desire that is pure and clear and true in our heart, right? Again, those puzzle pieces start to come. The divine ones who hold parts of the puzzle piece to help expand it start to show up, right? With offerings and gifts, and more of ourselves light up, and the whole picture of heaven on earth lights up, not just for you, but for everyone. So again, no spark of life but was created with your glad consent, as you would have it be. So when I got around to that part, so this is where we alchemate the self-sabotage. Once you realize, you sit in honesty. I had to be honest with myself about my addictions. I had to be honest with myself about what my body was telling me, right? Another thing, at Jedi Knife Girl, right? My knife throwing page at Instagram. Please follow if you're into knife throwing. It's lots of fun. But the whole message about that page is, are you listening, right? It's about listening to the knives. Are you listening in the dojo? But honey, that's a translation for everything, every single second, So the gift was, am I listening to my body? This knee is talking to me. And I know intuitively. I don't have to look it up and Google it. I fucking know. You fucking know, right? You're putting something in your mouth, whether you're smoking it, inhaling it, sucking it, swallowing it, whatever that thing is. And when your body has a certain reaction, if you're paying attention, right, you know. And so that's also, though, where you get to make a shift in how you are patterning yourself. And not one thought that God has ever but had waited for your blessing to be born. God is no enemy to you. God asks no more than that you hear, you call God friend. And this is what this is all about. So I called it my friend so I could remember that I was God, Boz. And Boz was like, yo, girl. And he broke it down, right? He's Gemini, so he's wordy, right? He's got blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, go, bro, go. I got to download. I got to remember. And he was what higher self guided me to. So we're on the phone and I've got to go teach in like 20 minutes and he's breaking it down. I'm like, yes. Soak it in. Remember. All my little cells, my atoms are like, do. Because remember, I'm in the doldrums. Even though I'm showing up and I'm teaching yoga and I'm this Reiki master and all this stuff, but I had my little minute there of this hell realm. And it's just today, honestly, where I'm like, ooh, okay. Like really almost out of that skin completely, of that shedding of the skins that we're doing collectively. And now I want to talk about that. There's so much I want to talk about. Okay. So So he's going. I'm going to offer you this little exercise here because we're just bam, bam, bam. We're going quantum timeline jumping. So he's like, honey, you know, time doesn't exist. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, yeah, right. But so go to the version of you though, right? That's in time, that has already done the thing that you're so afraid to do and to be, and to have the courage to show up and to, you know, embody that and to do that and to be like, here I am, which is all third chakra. He's like, go to her. And I went to her, timeline jumping. And she just looked at me and she's like, you know, this is all bullshit. She's like, you know, this is just a process so you can be stronger and come back in on this next round and be even clearer and even more attuned with God if you would choose it to be that way. And she's like, there's nothing to fear. And I was like, and I needed to hear that from myself in the future timeline, the version of me in that parallel reality that has already done this thing, or that is already doing the thing that I'm so terrified and have all this issue and sabotage stuff around. So what is the thing for you? Take a moment. Let's close our eyes. Drop into your heart. Connect with your higher self. Now, go forward in time. We know time doesn't exist, but we're using it as a matrix construct here. Go forward in time to that version of you that is already doing or has done that thing that you know you sabotage and deny yourself your truth around. And now ask them anything you want, or maybe just show up there for highest good and listen, and we'll just give it 20, 30 seconds. Okay. Now I pray you got what you needed. Because I know from going in there and from talking to her, she, you know, the version of me that was there, she's just all light. And she's just like, girl, you're just in it right now, honey. She's just like, you just in the drama, babe. She's like, you good. But everything is dramatic, right? When you're in tar body, when you're in that place where you have to make a choice. So this is another thing my brother reminded me about. And he's all into the, like, his whole thing is like choice, right? And inspired by the Wonders, which they are on Instagram. They're everywhere. There's a channeled messenger who dispenses beautiful teachings. And a lot of it has to do with choice. So this brother was reminding me as well. He's like, remember, you can choose at any time, which is a part of A Course in Miracles as well. It's like the willingness to see things differently is the choice that we make out of the hell realms and into the light. We feed the light body and we starve the tar body. We feed the light body, the part of us that would serve to nourish us and to create even bigger systems where we have more opportunities that are all in greater alignment with love and light, versus smaller systems that are just going to keep us tick-tocking in the matrix between the binary system of fear and love. Okay, so he kept saying that. He kept reminding me, and I was like, oh my God. And then I was in that, dimension of my addiction, and I was like, and I know, again, like every time I would, pick up the pipe or pick up the whatever. And again, for me, there's a balance. And when it would go over that meter of balance, higher self would say like, and I would be like, I know. And I would ignore it and I would just smoke anyway. Right? Or my knee was even hurting me. And I was like, oh my God, this is like insane, but this is what I teach and what I preach. Like I have to, this is the truth for me. This is the paradigm that I live in, that our bodies speak to us and they're going to react, right? In certain ways, when there's a foreign substance or something that is inappropriate in it, it's going to let you know, like, I don't like that, or that's enough of that. Can we stop this? Can we modify this? So our unwillingness to decide is what keeps us bound in self-sabotage. You have free will to an extent. That's a whole other show because we have the Akashic, we have the memories, we have the grids, and we're choosing from these aspects of the past, present, and future, which are illusions. You see, in the land of fourth dimensional consciousness, which is the now, there is no choice to make. There's no choice to make. Because there's love and only love. It is here in the binary system between love and fear where we're like, oh shit, I gotta make a choice. But we realize the more that we choose love, we choose those aspects that are not going to deny the self, that are not going to incur that self-sabotage and the feeding of the tar body and the giving way to those old patterns that keep us bound to that tick-tock in the matrix and never getting anywhere. We bust through that. We bust through that. So it's your own willingness. What can you choose right now or today? Like knowing, every day you can smoke pot. Every day you can smoke cigarettes. Every day you can have a drink of alcohol. Every day you can do whatever it is that is the thing, that is the distraction, that is the thing, that is the where it brings the imbalance. If you don't keep an eye on it, that keeps you bound. So again, my whole point is that when I go over, when my tipping of the scales goes over and I smoke more than I know is in service to my path, where I can be in my superpower, which is to be productive and creative. When I go over and I start to then get leaky in my energy and drained in my energy, and now I'm motivated, now I'm just tired, but from multiple just smoking, then I'm really starting to go into the hell realms, because then I start to beat myself up and I'm like, girl, you got all this work to do, and you have all of the, I've got a script and I've got these courses and I've got the blah, 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 clients. But meanwhile, here I am in my own thing, and that's okay. It's because it's all you anyway. It's all about you. So the more that you work out you, the more everything else works out. Make a decision. What can you decide today? If you don't know now, as you go forward into your day, and there's a thing that you can say yes or no to, that one thing is going to sabotage and the other thing is going to feed your light body, I'm inviting you to make that conscious choice today. And I will look through comments. I just have so much to go through. So our own unwillingness to make a decision, right, becomes, let's see, okay, decision becomes different. Okay, wait. Unwillingness to decide. Decision becomes different to remain in a state of confusion. Okay, so our unwillingness to decide, and these are little quotes that I wrote from the Wonders. So our own unwillingness to decide is what keeps us in the state of confusion. And the tar body, the shadow, loves when you don't know. And especially they love when you don't know in general, but it's also like when you just don't know, when you've forgotten how to choose love over fear. Tar body loves that. So this is interesting, because my brother bringing up the choice. Many years ago, I did a trilogy set of paintings. One is called Prosperity Pyramid. The other one is called Speaking in Tongues. And the other one is called Choices. And this was, I can't even remember. This was maybe 2009, 2010. So, and as you can see, there's a hand reaching up into this grittery of the polarity consciousness of the black and the white, right? And it's the picture's called Choices. So every choice we make is either going to place us in that spectrum of light or in that spectrum of dark, in the spectrum of love or the spectrum of fear. And from each choice we make, a whole other system becomes birthed that becomes your reality. But in a flash, in a moment, you can choose again, right? And that's what A Course in Miracles says. And that's what my brother Balls reminded me of. And I'm like, thank you. I needed to remember that. Okay. And we do. And we already know all this stuff, but together to remember. And it's okay if you're always on, it's okay to fucking be off. I've been doing this stuff for over 20 years and facilitating workshops and hundreds of clients and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But honey, I'm human too. And I'm still working on my stuff. And I'm going to be honest when I go through it, because I feel that there is a collective pull. So let's look at this. And there's so much. Okay. So let's look at this in a bigger picture. Also, with us shedding these skins, what has been happening in this last month or two? These injections on a collective scale. Now, the collective receiving this injection is going to create a rift in the matrix, is it not? It's going to create a shift in consciousness on some degree. And so whether you believe, this or that about any of that stuff, we still don't have to have judgment. Even if you're not into it. It's just not, for me, intuitively, it's a no. It's a no, thank you. No, thank you. And that's all, And yeah, sure, we post memes and all this stuff. And, we could have a whole other show right there. Yet it's as simple as that. And knowing that. And moving in life as such. Okay. Choice and free will. So it's your choice. Yet at the same time, it doesn't mean I am detached and delinked from the millions, is there billions? I don't know how, I don't know. There's numbers we can look up of people who have received the injection. You know, this is creating a shift in consciousness. So whether there's a shift in just a biological aspect of the physiology of people that's like do 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 do, whether you believe it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's still a shift, right, for our collective. And it's causing us to want to shed these skins collectively. So again, what's coming up for you in self-sabotage? I really feel that there is a deep connect because I'm not alone. Again, when I feel like, oh, I'm going through my shit, I know there's parts of us collectively that are too, maybe not all of us at the same time. And that's the gift, right? When I'm down, you're up, and I can call you and I could be like, I forgot how to hold my sword, right? That's one that I like to say as a Jedi, right? It's like when you're like, I forgot how to, do your thing. So you call up your friends that you love and who are in the light, and you're like, ah, and they're like, ba, 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 and you're like, do, 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 do. And you remember, you're like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And like the drum this morning, it's got so many superpowers and it's up on the wall just waiting patiently. And today I was like, we are in my meditation this morning. And then the drums are like, and you're going to play a little something, something at the beginning of today's show. I was like, okay, shit. Okay, then. Because it's like, take your power back. Okay. So free choice, choice and free will, or free choice. So let's get into some of these notes. Yes, I needed help to remember. And let's remember as well that there's many cycles happening. There's many, many cycles happening. I want to keep an eye. Where even is it? Okay. I just want to keep an eye on that funny thing called time. Wow, it's already 11:40. Time is an illusion until you're under the clock. Cycles, bigger cycles. So there's this big cycle, say, of galactic, nations, right, being at war with each other. And that's a whole system of information that we can plug into and be like guided and driven by. Then there's this whole other system within that system that is you and all the past lives you've lived and all the memories and the karmas and the lessons and the things that you're working out and you're healing and you're moving through, right? And then there's the cycle of you in this one life and the lessons and the healings and the karmas and the stuff from this. And they are all moving like cogs of a wheel, interchanging information at different subsets. And there's certain parts of the cycle where they all click, 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 like the Rubik's Cube, where they click into one at once. And this is when we've healed enough parts of the past of any given story that we're attached to, that where we really lavish in self-sabotage and self-denial and self-betrayal, right? When we have those opportunities to see things on that larger scale and we make choices from that larger perspective in the way of love, what it does is it creates a ripple effect through all of those cycles, those wheels that are spinning at the same time, and it collapses the wave function for us in the way of love. And the wave function is, the observer effect, right? And there's a lot of, we can talk about this in consciousness. We'll just keep going though. So the observer effect basically just speaks to, that nothing is really happening. Everything is just waves. And the moment that I look at it, I collapse the wave and a particle is then abiding, specific to what it is I'm deciding or choosing to perceive and believe about that particle. Two people can look at the same thing and see completely different realities. And that's what we're doing, is we are learning to collapse the wave function in the way of love. Everything is one, but where it becomes separated is in the matrix, is in this binary system of this illusion, right, that we're in. And the illusion is where there is the choice between fear and love. And the truth is where we are just in love. We're in love with love, and we're living love, and we're trusting love to bridge the gaps for us. So again, where can you stop denying yourself? Stop saying, and where can you stop saying yes to the things you don't want? Because that's self-sabotage. It's as easy as like, oh, would you like another cigarette? Oh, would you like another drink? Would you like it? Oh, okay. Even though you got to get up for work tomorrow, or you really want to go to the gym. And if you have that other drink, you're going to be drained and, you're at your max, or whatever the choice is, right? Stop saying yes to the things you really don't want. Relationships, boyfriends, whether you are, I don't use those things, but people swiping on Tinder, like, why are you saying yes? to the people you really don't have any interest in. Unless, you're just having fun or whatever. But you know what I mean. We learn to say no, thank you. Okay. So where are you playing small? Because where we're playing small is where we get to live large. Where you're afraid to live large and where you find yourself instead choosing the illusion of safety in your life by playing small, that's actually where your greatest gifts, your freedom, your joy, the gift that you are to this world resides. So again, thinking about systems, right? Systems. When you say yes to a thing that you don't want, you are saying yes to all the other people, places, things throughout all time, space that are connected to that one choice and decision. So we know where we say yes to the tar body, we say yes to the shadow, yes to those addictions, yes to those things that are not going to create that opening for us to bridge greater health or for us to embody our superpowers, our super path, right? We know that it gets easier then to keep saying yes to more of those things that cause indifference and that are not very empowering. And it just becomes easier and easier and easier. And even though the voice for God and the choice for love is always there, our musculature, our ability to flex that muscle of our spiritual will and to choose love, it's one thing to know that love is the truth. We can all sit here and wave a flag and be like, love is the truth. Honey, it's another thing, and you know this, to live that love, to be and embody that love with yourself first and foremost, and then as it extends out through the world. So where are you playing small? Okay, we did our quantum jumping, collective shedding of skin, willpower, third chakra. That's what we're moving. So when we stay in the stories of the matrix, we're like in those lower chakras. We're just like, I'm not done working out my past yet. I'm still in the Akashic. Basically, I'm just rerunning movies from the Akashic. I'm just still like stuck here. And that's okay. But when you have done your work and you've gone up the rung, and then you're like going back down, you're like, oh, snap. I know what it is to go to the mountain. I know what it is that light be one. Yet here you are playing small, right? Surrendering to self-sabotage. When we choose that love, we choose that light for ourselves, we activate the third chakra, which is our ability to attain, to be and embody that power of will in this body, in this world. So lies keep you in lower realms. Lies keep you in lower realms. Lies spawn a synthetic simulation. When you lie to yourself, you are spawning a synthetic simulation. We already live in a simulation, according to these teachings as they come through. We create the matrix, which generates the simulation. We create the matrix with our thoughts, words, actions, deeds, feelings. It all happens within, and we're shown it without. Now, as we change the programs, the simulation changes. Where we choose truth, the reality with the capital R becomes revealed. Where we choose to lie and to be dishonest with ourselves is where the synthetic simulation is given the right of way. Truth moves you beyond the illusion veils. So the more you choose truth, the more truth can choose you back too. The more truth can choose you back. So the tools and the teachings, let's keep going here. Okay, so this requires radical self-honesty, right? When we are being in truth with ourselves. Stop lying to yourself. Lies are for the hell realm. They really are. The truth is for the heaven realm. Okay, lies again keep you bound to those old stories of self-sabotage, of self-betrayal. When you start being honest about the little things, which means trusting your truth and saying yes to it, to your life, by living your truth, you get better at honoring the big choices. So when you start to say yes to those little things that you know are for you, and you start saying no thank you to those things that you know are not for you, for your highest good, what happens is more of those good, more of the honest, more of the truth opportunities come to you, and your ability to exercise your muscular will be present for you to match it, because that's all this is. We're just afraid of playing big. We are just afraid of being our full power and authority, of being our light. And anytime we get sucked into that self-sabotage, that self-denial, self-betrayal mode, that's just us choosing to forget rather than remember. And we are on a path of remembering. But what if you could walk into your dreams with complete innocence and without fear? And that's what this is about, right? Because all it is it's fear. And doesn't it seem that for you to live your truth doesn't have to be a dream? For you to live your truth is actually like your nature. It's a part of the beautiful nature that creates a sacred geometry of patterning in this world, that creates more opportunity for more people to remember that patterning too, because it's with you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, it can't help but bridge itself in and amongst all of life around you. Integrity, honoring the self, having backbone. Your crystalline tube is your stairway to heaven. It is your bridge to heaven on earth. Okay. And let's remember that nothing is complicated. It's the ego that makes it so. Love or fear, right? When we choose love, we gain levity. When we choose fear, there's a sense of the gravitational pull of the grids. When we feed the tar body, that's like making those choices in self-sabotage versus feeding the light body, which is to inspire and awaken that part of ourselves that is in attunement and alignment with God, with love, that will help to create more of that for ourselves along our path. And here's our tube, our crystalline tube, right? The more that we say yes to God, to love, to light, the more the central pillar of light that houses the spine and the chakras, that plugs us into the grid system, but also that plugs us in beyond it, into that direct line of light and love, right, becomes cleared, becomes exercised, becomes awakened and activated. So, the tar body, they do a job on you, and then you keep doing that job on yourself. So when we sabotage ourselves, we are giving the hammer to the devil. We are giving the hammer to the demons within us. We are giving the hammer to the shadow. And we're saying, you know what? I'm hitting myself over the head here long enough. I'm going to give you this hammer, and I want you to hit me. We're giving our power away completely when we do not choose consciously for ourselves. We are giving our power away to the lower fields, the lower frequencies that would have us in agreement with those smaller versions of ourselves that are not living our full, true power and authority. And so it is very important, right? Just for a quality of life, whether you believe in all of this galactic wars and all of these past lives, but just for your now moment quality of life, awakening, to be able to be in that place that says yes to your truth, right? And stops lying to themselves about self-sabotage, about saying yes when you really mean no, denying the true self. Every time you say yes, you are empowering yourself. You are empowering yourself. And you are creating and setting up a new paradigm where bigger and broader systems of more of that love, of more of that light, can be met by you in your experience. Because all we're doing is we are inside. Imagine we are inside of a Rubik's Cube. You are inside in the very center of this cube. And on each side of the cube, there's one predominant color in the middle of each side that doesn't move. We talk about this. These are parts of your Holy Grail hologram. These are the blueprints of perfection, whether you call it God, source, love, light, that are always within us, no matter what. It is the undeletable file, as Marianne Williamson calls it. And so the job is to move these pieces around, right, throughout life, to heal, to cleanse, to clear, to stop the self-sabotage, and to begin to say yes to the truth in our lives, so that we begin to match up and sync up, each side then of the cube. We're on the inside. And if we are on the inside of the cube and you're looking out through all of these muddy filters and this confusion and all these different stories, and you're not making a choice, which, remember, keeps us in a state of confusion. And the tar body loves confusion. So when you're in the inside and you're looking out and all you're seeing is like all of these different lenses and you don't know which to choose, and you stay idle there and you don't make that choice for love and light, then that's what you stay with. But the more that you start working on creating the resolution and the healing and the divine, matching the divine within with the divine outside, and collapsing all those wave functions in such a way, then what happens is that, like, here's the heart chakra. Oh my gosh, the heart is clear. Then you begin to see with that absolute clarity through all time and space. And then you get another side matched up. And maybe it's not fully matched up, but here's the pieces are starting to fit. And you start seeing from that inside clear. And the idea is eventually we get every side matched so that all of those little, like a fly, right? A fly has like these little honeycomb, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little lenses or filters that it sees through in one little eyeball of a fly. It has like tons of those little things. But imagine that's your aura, right? And we're cleaning those filters by saying yes to ourselves, by saying yes to love and light, and no thank you to those parts that would maintain the habits, that would keep the self-betrayal and the self-denial of the novella of this matrix operating, right? We step out of the matrix and into the now by honoring the love and light, the truth within us. And so those pieces of the Rubik's Cube begin to connect and clear. And then suddenly we see things very, very differently than we had before. And remember, love has a different vocabulary than fear. So every time you choose love, you receive like a download of even more ways how to be and embody love. You receive a grace that attains and gifts you an expanded field whereby you have, you see more opportunity, more ways that you can be and embody this love as you go forward. It's not about figuring things out, because love is timeless. It's about surrendering to the levity that love grants us in the now, and to continue to choose it moment by moment. And that love is towards the self. How can I make a choice today that will feed my light body and that will starve the tar body, starve the shadow, but feed this light body, this part of me? Because the moment you do, the moment all sorts of other light-filled opportunities align for you in your awareness. Yet you must exercise your spiritual will and your musculature to choose love, self-love first and foremost. And it's over and over and over again. And that is your path of sovereignty. That is your path of sovereignty in this world. And that is how we begin to bridge heaven on earth. And now I know a bunch of folks were here. They popped in and they popped out. And there were some comments, and we're almost done. I'm so grateful for you, dear family. Thank you so much for hopping on. Take me to church. You're so sweet. Already finding some messages here. Blessings. Oh, thank you everyone for hopping on. Let me just run through here because we're almost done. Self-centered Canada, same. My relationship with weed is ever changing, and great sex with the worst person for me. And Ashwa says, LOL, ninja mode activated. Yes, I hear you. Self-centered Canada says, like, what is your job compared to your business here? Beautiful. And then Champagne over here on YouTube says, I've been noticing that I have been connecting more into my dark side, which there's nothing wrong with. My inner dark, learning to balance both of my inner me. Yes, absolutely, 100. And like that. So just to conclude, when I did that 30 days and taking care of grandma and going into those realms, and the bat medicine came to me, that was fully an initiation into the shadow, into hell. The bat was like, took me into hell. I had several altered states of consciousness, and bat came in and was showing me how I had used bat medicine in past lives to do evil, to do harm, and how I have that memory within me, which I had forgotten. But it was like, look, you have this, you know how to do this. Yet the point of this initiation in this lifetime now is to know how to do all that, to remember you know how to do all that, yet to choose to do the light, to do the right thing, to know. And that is, thank you, Champagne, that is a powerful part, right, of integrating that shadow, of integrating the dark side. When you know You know, you could do some harm. You know, I mean, if you're psychic, you know, you could manipulate, you could do all sorts of stuff. But we also know that the moment we start to move in those realms is we start to create those karmas. And anything that we begin to weave together that is not rooted in love and light, right? We get to unweave later as a part of our healing process. And not that there's anything wrong with that. It's a big way of how we learn. Yet the point is, what I had to recognize is that there was a lot of mojo with this bat medicine and who these versions of myself that I have been in the past, and how I had, in a very ill way, manipulated and used that hell realm power, not for the highest good of all, but out of greed and out of whatever all those things were, fear and control. Yet this time around, and I had forgotten, and I'm totally into animal medicine, and I have tons of them, and I work with all my people, my animals, but I had never thought about bat until it came during that time with grandma. And then the initiation. And she's powerful, and we're just at the beginning now, but it's like, remember you are the dark and you are the light, but remember, you know darkness. And it's only through surrendering to that and not trying to hide from the dark, but being like, yo, I see you. Yeah, I know you. I know how to dance with you, actually. And we call it, right, the tar body, the dark side, the shadow. In the teachings I share, it's the tar body. Imagine like tar, gunky tar, right? And we call it dancing with the tars, where eventually you get over being afraid to face your shadow. You get over being afraid of the dark night of the soul, and you get to the point where you're like, bring it. You're like, yeah, that's right. That's right. This is showing me what I'm ready to begin to integrating now into greater love, into greater light. And that's all this is. We are Phoenix rising from the flames. My family, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Go to my Linktree links, join my monthly love letter, subscribe at YouTube. Thank you for being here. I'm so very grateful for all of you and everyone here at YouTube. Blessings, and with so much love, with so much light. And so it is. Blessings.